Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nintendo Pipeline Podcast. I'm your host for this week, Mina, and joining me today is
Jared, also known as One Up Muffin on the Discord.
And I'm CMM1215. Just call me Clay because that's a lot of stupid numbers and letters.
it is a lot of stupid numbers and letters. No offense, buddy.
I don't think they're stupid.
Oh, yeah. You'll never guess what they mean. I mean, you really won't.
One day, someone leave your guess in the comments.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
If you can figure it out,
And if you already know, no cheating.
Yeah. That's also true. Yeah. So I'm a new voice on the podcast today, right?
Yes. So we have you hosting already and debuting at the same time. So, yeah.
Never before seen.
Everybody welcome Mina or else.
Or else.
Or else.
I'm part of the Discord, of course. Same name on there, Mina. Okay. So I'm here. I'm queer, and I want to talk about Nintendo sales.
All right.
So, yeah, let's just dig in. So Nintendo had an earnings release this last week or so, on about May 5th, May 6th. And we got a whole bunch of big numbers. Okay, we love big numbers.
Yeah, they are very big. Yeah.
The numbers, let me tell you, they are going up.
I play a lot of Cookie Clicker. I love when the numbers get higher and higher.
Oh yeah. If you love Cookie Clicker, I have good news for you. This is
Does Nintendo
it's a great episode for you.
Does Nintendo play Cookie Clicker to guess or to decide their forecasts?
It's possible. Cookie Clicker probably provides a pretty good algorithm for that, right? So big stuff happened. I just want to get right into it. Then I'm gonna talk about the biggest number of I guess the number that most people care about is the hardware, right?
Yep.
So people love to talk about hardware sales. We love to compare our console number sizes. So, the Switch, Nintendo was so this is for the fourth quarter. So this their fiscal year just ended. And if you don't know, if you're not a big nerd like us, their fiscal year runs from April to March. So 3 months offset from the calendar year, right? So their fiscal year just ended. They had their last quarter, January to March, and they were forecasting 2.4 million units for that quarter. They blew past that. They shipped 4.7 million, over 4.7 million units of the Switch in January to March, which is not this is not a holiday quarter, right? This is not a,
Right.
You don't expect big numbers during...
Typically it's a bit of a lull after the holiday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they just, they doubled their...
I was going to say, that's double.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah.
So they shipped this last fiscal year. They shipped 28.8 million units, which is so far the peak year of the Switch. That is insane.
This is the fourth year.
This is the fourth year of the system. This is unprecedented.
It's not like Animal Crossing. Just wow.
No, yeah, I mean, Animal Crossing and the continued success of the evergreens and obviously the pandemic. Which boosted video game sales overall.
Yeah.
All these things just led to them having a monstrous year. And I want to give a little context for that 28 million number real quick. Because we were like, oh, that sounds like a big number. But what does that mean? Right? For context, the PlayStation 4, which is a very successful system, right? I don't want to, that is a very successful system.
Yeah.
The peak year of the PlayStation 4 was 20 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this just eclipses that, right? This is just way past that.
Yeah.
It's unfathomable how well the system is doing.
Do we happen to have a breakdown on standard Switch units versus Switch Lite? I'm kind of curious.
Yes, we do actually. So finally, and I kind of mused this to myself, but the Switch alone, without the Lite, sold more than 20 million. It was 21 million, just for the regular Switch.
Right.
And then and then another eight. It was like 20.32 million for the regular Switch, and then it was 8.5 million for the Switch Lite.
Damn.
Both of them were a 37% increase from the previous fiscal year, right?
Yep.
And let's think about that previous fiscal year, which I think a lot of people at the time assumed, okay, this is going to be the peak year, right?
Yeah.
Because that was the fiscal year you launched Mario Maker. That was the fiscal year you launched a new generation of Pokemon. I mean, Animal Crossing technically came out in that fiscal year, right?
Right. That's true. It came out at the very end of it.
Very end of it, but still, right? And so a lot of people had assumed at the time that would be the peak year, and that was 21 million, and 21 million again, more than the PlayStation 4 had ever done, which is a very successful system. So for this to do 37% more than that is nuts, just nuts.
Yeah, it's again, incredibly unprecedented, and also worth mentioning, not a single price cut at this stage.
Yeah, same price
Which
always.
is also unprecedented.
Very few deals.
It
Maybe they'll throw like
$2.99.
Mario Kart in there once in a while, or like Fortnite V-Bucks.
There are some like special SKUs and value bundles, but not an actual price cut.
Yeah, I mean, like they bundle Mario Kart on Black Friday for 3 days, if that. And that's it. You know, that's it. That is as far as you go when it comes to special pricing for the Nintendo Switch. It still goes for $2.99. And I've noticed every Black Friday those Mario Kart bundles literally it's lucky to make it through the weekend. Honestly, they usually sell it in that day. But otherwise, you're just buying $2.99 the system alone. And these games, we'll talk about software sales in a bit, have for the most part also stayed at $60, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's fascinating is that this is I mean, if you look at the peak year of literally, and I do mean literally, every single other system in their lifespan, their peak year comes from a price cut on the hardware, you know? So truly, this is just like never before seen, you know?
Yeah, it definitely makes you wonder if at some point during the life cycle, I mean, inevitably you will at some point see a price cut, whether it's, sooner or later, but at the point that there is a price cut and even more major software out there, what that will cause.
Like, I guess if next year, like, we go down from 28 million back to, like, 20 million, maybe that's when they get the sale. Maybe that's when they want to, like, boost. But, like, still, that's a...
Yeah, I mean, I see no reason... to be clear, I see no reason for there to be a price cut at all.
There isn't.
Oh, no, like,
But-
the way momentum is going, it's just not necessary yet, right?
And if you're budget friendly, you can get the Switch Lite. Like, that's an option, too.
The way people talk about price cuts is very strange to me, and I think it's because obviously people are used to them, right? Like they happen a lot, and the whole point of a price cut is, you're not price cutting your product for charity. Like it's not like a certain amount of time has passed, so I guess it's time to give this a price cut. It's always it's things are slowing down. There needs to be a boost, price cut along a key software title, or even just by itself, can cause a short-term boost.
But Nintendo can get that boost from re-releasing 3 Mario ROMs.
Yeah, those 3 Mario ROMs sold 9 million copies, right? So it's like, oh boy, man.
Yeah.
The Switch, both in hardware and software, is just truly like Nintendo. We've never seen them like this, right? Like we love talking about the Wii and DS years, and yes, Wii and DS hardware combined is this insane number.
Yeah.
Right? A, that's never a fair comparison. But like B, like I mean this like the only other comparable console at this point is the DS, and I firmly believe that the Switch will pass it at this point. Just with the way things are going, I really do believe that. Because it's not slowing down, right? If we want to real quick talk about their forecast for the next year, it's 25.5 million, right?
Right.
Which is a slight decrease.
Yeah.
But still is a ridiculous number, 25.5 million. And also, in my opinion, is conservative, right?
I think a lot of people feel it's conservative.
Right. If you look at the momentum going into this calendar year, 2021, right?
Yeah.
There's no indication that things are slowing down. There's absolutely no indication that things are slowing down, right? hardware sales are staying at a consistent level from last year, which were bonkers,
Yep.
right? And like, if we want to talk about the rumor mill a little bit, so
Yep.
The Switch Pro, hot topic these days, right?
Of course.
That is going to be a great way to keep momentum, but I would argue it doesn't even need that with the way things are going. I think it'll be great to boost the sales, right?
Yeah.
But inarguably, the way things are going, like this holiday, it doesn't even need a Switch Pro with the
I think the biggest
and-
reason for a
go on.
Switch Pro is not the hardware sales, but I think it's the increase of potential third-party sales.
Oh, sure, yeah.
If more third parties can release on there easily, then those sales can go up and up and up.
Right, and it's a good way to, people who like us who already own a Switch will probably buy that system, that upgraded system.
Day one,
There'll definitely be plenty of double dips, and
There's gonna be
a small group that has held out waiting for.
Yeah, I hear random people being like, "Okay, I'm waiting. I'm still waiting."
Yeah, I say small because
I mean, again, clearly people are not waiting, right? If you look at if you look at the way the thing is selling, But the reason I brought up the rumors is the other half of that rumor that I think gets under discussed is Mochizuki, the guy who put out who's put out the most concrete details about the Switch Pro, right?
Yep.
And is one of the most trusted guy when it comes to Nintendo. Like, I mean, he's a Bloomberg journalist. He's a legit journalist.
You just say Bloomberg and
and the other part of that he keeps stressing when he talks about the Switch Pro is that they are planning a strong software lineup this year, right? And we've seen glimpses of that, right? Like, I mean, we know Breath of the Wild is on the horizon. Pokemon Legends is going to be a big game. Splatoon 3 not this year, but is next year.
Yeah,
they're not slowing down.
Yeah, Splatoon 3 will be massive.
Yeah, and
I'm sure there's a lot more that we haven't seen yet either.
And also worth mentioning that this first half of the year has been more stacked than it typically is. So if they're continuing to fire on all cylinders with this year, which is likely because they traditionally have major content in the second half of the year.
In the second half, yeah.
Then damn,
I mean, there's plenty of games that could release this year, right? And I mean, it's worth noting we don't know anything in the second half right now after Skyward Sword besides Brilliant Diamond Shining and Pearl, right?
Yep.
They could really fill in that lineup at E3. I think they will really fill in that lineup at E3. Right?
Yeah, that's traditionally when that happens.
Yeah, I'm really excited for
that. And so it'll be exciting to see how they plan on keeping. I mean, definitely this is not going the way of the Wii, right? By this point in the Wii's life cycle, like, you could tell Nintendo gave up. You just could because we're going into the 5th year. Do you remember the 5th year of the Wii? It was Mario Sports Mix at the beginning, and Skyward Sword at the end, and not much in the middle.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
2011 was rough.
Yeah.
But that's not what's happening with the Switch, right? That's just not what's happening with the Switch. We have so many big marquee titles still to release that I mean they're keeping this train rolling.
Yeah, we still don't have a WarioWare. Can't end a console without that.
True.
I mean, it's also worth mentioning too, because we're probably going to be moving into software sales shortly. In terms of million seller titles, so I'm still kind of unclear on this number. I don't know if this is cumulatively throughout the Switch life cycle or if this is specifically just software that released in the fiscal year, but there are 22 million selling Nintendo titles, but also 14 third-party million sellers, which is is an increase. I think last time it was like 7 or something like that.
I don't have last year's number on me on hand, but it is any game whether it released this year or not. But if it sold 1 million within the last 12 months, basically.
I see.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So for example, I'm gonna bring up a game that I wasn't planning on talking about, but hey, I have the opportunity now. Link's Awakening. Link's Awakening showed up on the million sellers list for this last fiscal year. It eked out another million in the last 12 months.
That's impressive.
Yeah, great legs for
a top-down Zelda remake of a Game Boy game.
Yeah, randomly sold another million, right? super cool that happened, and so that's part of the 22. That's part of the what was it 34
total? 36 total.
30, yeah.
Yep.
And then 22 first party, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it was part of that 22 first party. So yeah, that means so 22, by the way. That's again, these are games that sold 1 million just in the last 12 months.
Wow.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Not stuff that released in the past 12 months. Just stuff that sold 1 million in the past 12 months.
For a single publisher to have 22 separate games that at least sold 1 million copies in a 12-month period.
Yeah, it's insane.
Is unimaginable.
Yeah. No one can match that. No one can match that, right? There's no publisher on earth that can match that kind of performance.
Not even close.
Yeah, absolutely. It's completely wild.
And then, hey, third-party games are doing great too. 14 separate games sold at least 1 million copies in the last 12 months, right?
Yep.
That's pretty healthy, especially for Nintendo systems that get the flack of, third parties don't do great. I think it's clear why Switch continues to get all sorts of third-party content, right? Things are doing well on the platform, just undeniably, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even anecdotally, people just buy so many more games of the Switch than they did on, let's say, the Wii.
For sure. For sure, right? Like you can tell that, like, I think the Switch is just a console that really encourages you to buy more and more and more games, right? Yeah. Because people like using the system.
It resonates with every audience, too.
It does. It is a system that just fits with your lifestyle, no matter how you want to play it, right?
Yeah, and there's also, it's worth mentioning, too, that on top of how it's intrinsically built to fit into your lifestyle, there are also a ton of third-party accessory manufacturers who create products that make it fit even better in people's lifestyles. So I'm kind of curious about at least a little bit of some of that impact as well.
Oh sure, yeah. I definitely like with all the accessories that it has, and credit to the software too, right? They are releasing games that are some of the best ever, right? Like they just must-have games.
Yeah, quality has been very good.
Can we point out how Nintendo can release a collection of 50 public domain board games for the most part, and it sells over 3 million?
Over 3 million copies, yeah.
I forget, I think, what was it, this past, I don't know if it was, I can't remember the window, but Clubhouse moved another, 500,000 since last we saw.
Since last quarter.
Which is fantastic. I love Clubhouse, but it's like
chess,
it's a great
checkers. Collection.
Yeah.
It's so well polished, it's so well made, but it is funny. It is 50 public domain games, right?
Yeah. half a million in the last quarter by itself.
Crazy. Just
Which
crazy numbers.
Makes sense, especially as a holiday purchase for families. That's an easy and a budget title, technically.
Oh right? yeah. It's
$40. Great price.
It's cheaper than most first party games, right?
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Without a doubt. So I want to talk about the big hits.
Yes.
So, first of all, in the last year, we were seeing that the best seller every quarter was Animal Crossing.
Yep.
For the first time since release, this is not true. So last quarter, the best seller was Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
The king is back.
Back on top.
Yep.
I had the slightest look. I love Mario Kart, but I had the slightest glimmer of hope that Animal Crossing was gonna pass Mario Kart. You just can't beat Mario Kart, though. It's
a fantastic Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was fantastic on the Wii U, and it's even better now.
It's even better now, and it's the go-to game, right? It really is. When you pick up a Switch, that's the game you pick up, undeniably.
Yeah. And, it's worth mentioning, too, real quick, while we're on the Mario Kart subject. We're at, in terms of total units, Mario Kart obviously is the king right now at 35.39 million units. Just comparing the Switch SKU to the Wii version of Mario Kart Wii, it is extremely close to overtaking that. Mario Kart Wii is at 37.38 million units.
Wow.
It will pass it by September, maybe by June, honestly. Maybe by June,
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think Mario Kart Wii could be beaten by another Mario Kart.
I was going to ask, just 2 years ago, was it even thinkable that Mario Kart Wii could ever be surpassed? Absolutely not, right?
Yeah, we knew that Deluxe obviously was doing extremely well, but certainly probably underestimated it on some level.
I mean, because at first when it came out, there was a lot of like, oh, well, is it because it's not a new game? Like, does that hamper its sales? The answer is no.
Yeah,
like,
the answer
is no. Nobody cared.
No,
nobody knows.
It's Mario
Most
Kart.
people don't even know it's a Wii U game.
Right. Yeah. It's because it's just Mario Kart, man. Like, it's just Mario Kart.
Another example of that is our newest member, well, one of our newest members of the 10 million club, which is New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe.
Yes.
That 10.44 million, I believe that means it is outperformed the Wii version. Oh yeah, I almost doubled the Wii U version. Wow. Yeah, by a significant margin. So.
And it's on track to beat New Super Mario Bros. 2 on the 3DS, which is at about like 13 something, right?
Could it beat New Super Mario Bros. Wii or no?
No, that's
that one is just
a while.
That is an untouchable game for.
Yeah, that's a 30 mil right there.
Wow.
Yeah,
it would have had to launch with a new one.
But New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is doing fantastic, right? Like, it joined the 10 million club. One real quick note about Mario Kart, though. Again, it sold 10 million copies just in the last year.
Yeah,
that is its best year so far.
Yeah.
This is of the 28 million people that got it, more than a third of them bought Mario Kart.
Yeah, so 35 million people own Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. 10 million of the 35 was just in the last year. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely wild.
Most games would be happy to sell 10 million lifetime.
I think every game would be happy to sell 10 million lifetime.
And then Mario Kart is selling 10 million in its 4th year, just alone, right?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
And
the other game that joined the 10 million club, though, by the way.
Yes.
Ring Fit Adventure.
Oh, I'm so excited.
This is probably the most interesting because it is a plastic like accessory game. It is a more casual game, and it is a new IP.
And worth noting also, it is essentially a docked only game, right?
So Switch laters can't play this.
Yeah, so you're cutting yourself off to the light audience entirely. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
right?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
10 million copies.
That game is fantastic, and I think it is a really strong showing for the power of their unique experiences. And it's just one of those things that's very well developed inside and out, and I'm just very happy that it's done as well as it has, because it is legitimately fantastic.
I really want it. Nintendo does amazing exercise stuff. Other companies have tried, but nothing comes close to Wii Fit and Ring Fit. So in terms of quality and polish and fun too.
I played it for like 4 months straight last year, and first of all I had a blast. It did this great thing of it really instills in you this. It has this halo effect almost of you're exercising, and that does a lot in of itself, but it makes you just more mindful of everything else too, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, I just want to live a healthier lifestyle, you know?
Yeah.
And I actually lost a decent chunk of weight just playing Ring Fit, you know?
Yeah.
Great
That's
game.
awesome.
I think
it's fun. It's just a fun, engaging game. As a video game, I like it. You know?
Yeah, it definitely is the best iteration of an exercise game that fully fulfills itself as both an exercise, option and an actual entertainment product. Because it's just they nailed it. Pretty much, they totally nailed it.
And then I just want to quickly run through some of the other software that's just been doing hot. Oh, Mario 3D World just came out, sold 5.59 million copies, almost outsold the Wii U version in just 6 weeks.
Yeah, that is honestly sort of hilarious.
Yeah, just immediately. It did it real quick. Yeah. And it's tracking very strong, right? This is, especially for a non-holiday quarter, to sell almost 6 million copies just like that, I think 3D World is going to ultimately sell quite a bit.
Yeah, I do think it's worth pointing out as well. I mean, I think everyone listening probably knows this, but the 3D World release also has probably had the most significant new content of any of the ports and re-releases that they've done so far with Bowser's Fury, and I'm sure that majorly influenced its initial performance as well. But it's still
I bet most people who bought 3D World on the Wii U rebought it on Switch.
Yeah, it's definitely got the extra content to push it, and I mean they obviously went back into the original game and adding online functionality and stuff like that has been great. But yeah, just the extra that they put into that re-release definitely I think helps explain some of its initial like tearing right out of the gate.
Oh yeah, and I think, to be fair, like I think even beyond like people who own it on the Wii U, I think a lot of people just see this as a new 3D Mario game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just like Mario Kart that we talked about, right? I think this is just a new Mario game for a lot of people, and
Yeah.
that in of itself is just exciting. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like a different sort of type of one, and then Bowser's Fury kind of filling like the sandbox-esque kind of a little bit. Like it's a pretty solid product.
For sure. And I mean, I want to give a little because we talked about the Wii earlier and how this is definitely not a Wii situation, right?
Right.
Like, to really hit that home, like, the second 3D Mario game on the Wii sold lifetime like less than 7.5 million copies.
Yeah.
Right. This is gonna pass that next quarter.
Yeah.
That I mean, wow. Wow. Yeah. I really think 3D World is gonna end up becoming the second best-selling 3D Mario game of all time, only second to the other 3D Mario game on the same platform, right?
Yeah.
Would you have expected though? I mean, what a turnaround for 3D World, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Was Odyssey one of those other million sellers for this year?
Yes, Odyssey sold another 3.5 million.
Wow.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd be stunned if it didn't. Yeah. Smash did, etc.
Those are like the evergreen games. Someone asked to buy a Switch. They asked what games to get. I say Zelda, Mario Kart, and Odyssey.
Well, okay. Let's turn this into a little game to do the bullet points of the next couple ones. So the top 3 sellers, evergreens, this last quarter were Mario Kart, Animal Crossing, and Ring Fit, right?
Yep.
What do you think 4, 5, and 6 were?
Mario Party's in there somewhere.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say maybe Smash Bros. Maybe Pokemon.
Got it in one. Yes. So Smash Ultimate, Breath of the Wild, and goddamn Super Mario Party are in the next tier of evergreen sellers.
Hey, Mario Party's good now. It has online.
It has online, but it's worth noting this was even before it had online, right?
Yeah.
They knew. Actually, they had an inclination.
I'm very curious to see if that content update, or I should say, how that content update will affect Super Mario Party's legs.
Yeah, I might grab it next time it goes on sale. I wasn't considering it before online.
If it sells, if the online version accelerates its sales, I'm honestly going to be upset because that means it's going to be selling better than Breath of the Wild and Smash every quarter. That's not a world I want to live in, you know?
I mean, I'm fine with this. I'm fine with this world. We already know at this point that it's going to hit 20 million. So.
Oh yeah, that's just an inevitability at this point.
Because we're at 15 basically now, like a little under 15.
Yeah, we're basically at 15. This thing sells already as it is. Like Breath of the Wild, Smash, and Mario Party average more than 1 million every quarter, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna hit 20 million without a doubt, just without a doubt, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And then just to close this off, other games that just keep doing really, really well.
Yes.
Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
Sold 3.73 last fiscal year.
Yeah.
No Pokemon game in its second year does that kind of numbers. You know?
Yeah. And it is also worth mentioning too, in respect to Pokemon Sword and Shield, and the DLC, they did put out that release, I believe, at the end of last year, which is the Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield versions with the DLC included as well, which is a great option. 1, 2. You're not getting a discount on that, so you are paying the full amount.
It's
so
$90.
Yeah, it's a $90 SKU that probably contributed a decent amount of this, 3.73 million number.
I could imagine a Smash Ultimate like complete pack once that's all done. Be another big sales boost.
I think that's another conversation, but I have doubts about that one. Just due to
I'm not expecting complete editions, honestly. Outside of maybe like Breath of the Wild, you know.
Yeah. Even then, I'm kind of like.
And even then, yeah. Because they just don't need to. But Sword and Shield, it's worth noting, like at the rate it's going, it will pass Gold and Silver. You know, it will become the second best-selling Pokemon game of all time.
What is do you happen to know the numbers for Gold and Silver offhand, or a rough?
I do. Estimate? I have it right in front of me. So Pokemon Gold and Silver lifetime is 23.73.
Oh
so
God, yeah, that's easy.
It's gonna pass it this year.
Yeah, this year.
It's gonna pass it this year.
This year, done. Yeah.
And I think it's worth noting with Sword and Shield. Let's talk about Pokemon real quick. I don't see. Because, tradition on the 3DS, when Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire came out, X and Y fell off a cliff.
Right.
But I think that's because those games looked they were the same engine, they looked the same.
Yeah.
I don't think that Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl or Legends will really slow down Sword and Shield any.
Yeah, I agree.
I really think that each Pokemon game on the Switch is just offering something different.
Yeah, they're all very differentiated releases, and they don't appear to be cannibalizing one another.
And Let's Go is still selling well, right?
Yep.
Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee sold another 1 million in the last year, in its third year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's Go Pikachu. That's a game that you would have thought for sure, once Sword and Shield came out, would have fallen off a cliff, right?
Yeah.
Nope. That game is still selling. So, yeah, I think every Pokemon game on the Switch is doing a really great job of not cannibalizing each other, which is really cool to see.
Pikmin 3 Deluxe is another title that, leg-wise, who knows, but it is the highest-selling game in its series now. So
yes, the first Pikmin to sell more than 2 million.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congrats, Pikmin.
And I'm sorry. Oh wait, never mind. I read that wrong.
Oh,
go on.
And hey, Splatoon 2, people say no one buys it anymore. That sold another 2 million copies last year. You know? So,
Yeah. The online's always active for that game.
Oh, yeah.
Even Mario Maker 2 managed to move over 1.5 million.
Yeah, I mean these are games that people claimed were like, oh, they're not selling anymore. They clearly are, right? If this was any other system, that would be on the upper end for the year.
Yeah.
It's just, Switch is just so ridiculous. It really is.
Another one, too, that's about to hit 10 million, Luigi's Mansion 3. It's, like, right there.
Wow. That's impressive, because that's, like...
Yeah.
That's next-level games, right?
Yes.
That's next-level games. I mean, you can tell why Nintendo made sure to keep them around, right?
That's definitely their highest-selling game ever.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, and there's not that many Nintendo franchises, period, that have hit 10 million in a single entry, you know?
Yeah.
The list is very small.
Yeah.
So
and
for
I wouldn't have thought Luigi's Mansion would have gotten there. That's really impressive.
No, I mean, think about it this way. Luigi's Mansion will end up selling more than any Donkey Kong game ever.
You're making me sad now.
I just think that just goes to show you, that's not a knock on Donkey Kong. That's just, Luigi's Mansion is just in a tier that people don't even realize now.
Yeah, it's a big franchise now.
A lot of people underestimate that. I'd also like to point out one of my personal favorites of last year, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, 3 million, is doing very well, especially for a Muso title. I believe, I could be wrong, I believe it's one of the higher performing Muso titles.
Not just, forget Muso. It is Koei Tecmo's best-selling game of all time.
Wow.
Damn.
That Breath of the Wild game went a long way.
Yeah. See, I was
thinking... not just Warriors, not just Muso, right? Like,
yeah.
everything Koei Tecmo has ever put out, this is the best-selling game they've ever put out.
So I gotta ask then, I don't know if you happen to know this, because this is kind of off the path a little bit, but Persona 5 Scramble? Persona 5, I forget. Persona 5 Warriors.
Scramble. It's Scramble.
How has that performed comparatively?
That's actually been doing pretty well. It's like at 1 million something. I don't remember exactly.
Interesting.
It's Strikers. My bad.
Yeah, Strikers. I kind of expected a little bit more from that. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I would say, because remember that the original Persona 5 only sold about 4 million. I say only, but that's great. Right?
I mean, yeah.
So, having that retention, like $1 million for a spin-off from of a 4 million game, that's really good. You know, that is really good. Anyway,
if I remember correctly, Hyrule Warriors 1 didn't sell that well.
Like, no, like it barely sold $1 million on the Wii U, which I mean, I guess for a Wii U game that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then finally, the Switch version never hit $1 million. Maybe it did by now. We don't know. But
yeah, that's
definitely. It's one of the few times that we have seen an example where the Switch version does not match the Wii U version, or largely surpass it.
Which is weird because it's a great game. I really liked what I played of Hyrule Warriors.
Well, do you think that kind of had to do with the fact that there was also a 3DS version?
It kind of.
It was just like it was that at that point. That is the third version.
The third time, game. Even though it's the best version, it's people played it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I remember at the time of Age of Calamity's announcement, there was at least a small uptick in Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition sales and interest. So I am curious to see, because I believe those are also two games in the same series that are actually very distinct from one another, and I don't think necessarily cannibalize one another. So I'm kind of curious to see how that game is performing now, but we don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, we might. So every year, I don't remember at what time, the Reset Era thread on Nintendo software sales, they get a little update. I think it's like every June we'll get an update for like anything that sold $1 million published by Nintendo.
Oh, okay.
It is a leaked number though. It comes from
right.
Yeah, but they are super legit. And hey, maybe when that happens, we'll cover that on this very podcast.
That'd be cool.
But that's enough about sales. There's a couple other odds and ends I wanted to talk about with this earnings release before we close it off.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, we talked about how great the Switch has been doing, right? Here's a stat for you. This is the best. This is the highest operating profit that Nintendo has ever seen, and also any console division for anyone has ever seen in the history of the industry.
Yeah, Switch is not selling at a loss, correct?
No, not at all. Quite frankly, it's probably selling for a pretty hefty profit.
Yeah, especially at this stage.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 4 years later.
Yeah.
But think about that. That is more profit than anything that I mean, think of the height of the Wii and the DS, right?
Yeah.
Think of PlayStation, how big that business is, especially with third-party games. It is higher than any of those years ever.
Yeah. That's
bonkers.
Yeah, insane.
Yeah, Nintendo is just proving this generation that the standard model of video games is still working great.
Oh yeah, and like I think it's worth noting because most companies right now are making huge profits because of microtransactions.
Right.
Most of this does not come from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also really impressive.
This is mostly like full on software sales.
Or if it is downloadable stuff, it's expansion passes, which are just a one-off purchase, right?
Yeah,
this does not come
from
paid
currencies. Animal Crossing didn't have any microtransactions. Not one.
I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say nothing they've published that isn't free to play has microtransactions. I could be wrong.
I don't
think so. Yeah.
Recall anything. Yeah.
Anything that they published at retail for like $1 amount doesn't have and that that's pretty crazy
that's
for
really awesome.
The industry today, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so Nintendo, they're killing it. And then one last thing, we got one little bit of news. So Chris Melandrini, I don't know how to say his last name, honestly.
Illumination guy. We'll go with Illumination.
Yeah. So he is pretty high up in Illumination. I think I don't remember what his role in Illumination is. I think he might be CEO. Anyway,
he's a founder. He's a founder.
Founder. Okay.
Yeah.
So Illumination. So he works for Illumination Studios, which, if you don't know, is making the Mario movie. Previously has made like the Despicable Me and Minions and stuff like that. But most importantly, to this podcast, they're making the Mario movie, right? He is coming in as an outside director. He's going to be on the board of directors for Nintendo. And I just kind of wanted to talk about that real quick because I think this is a pretty big sign of confidence in the Mario movie, at least to what they're expecting.
Yeah, definitely.
I cannot imagine the Mario movie doing badly.
Yeah. I think it's a big sign of confidence both in that and in their partnership because
their long lasting, like, Mario movie is not going to be a one-off thing.
No,
right?
Definitely not.
Yeah, I'd be genuinely surprised if, say the Mario movie performs well, that it would be a one-off, And they did say recently too that they are looking into specifically animation with other IP, and I mean, that would make sense.
Straight up said it's not just going to be Mario.
Yeah, right? And we've heard rumors of like other Nintendo media projects that like never came to fruition. So it's cool to see one that's finally happening.
That's finally, I think this is going to be the start of a much bigger thing, right?
Yeah. And I'd like to
NCU.
I'd like to actually read this bit, what they said in regards to his nomination, because just to be clear, he has been nominated. He does have to be approved, which I believe, I don't recall when that is. But
it'll happen in July in the general board of directors shareholder meeting or whatever the hell it's called in July.
Right. But specifically, what it says is, we would like to nominate him as a new outside director with the expectation that he will appropriately supervise our company's management from an objective perspective while providing valuable advice to our organization based on his broad experience and insight gained as a leader in the field of entertainment. They see him as a major force. Is there any outside director previously that has been on anything besides audit or supervising capacity?
As far as I know, no. As far as I know, the only people who are on the outside board of directors are like bankers and like institutional stuff like that. This is definitely a big step. Like to have Nintendo have someone from another company, right?
Yeah.
Join their board of directors. That's a big deal.
Yeah. And I see this as a big intertwining with the theme park as well.
Yes.
And those being big factors.
We should probably touch on the IP expansion stuff briefly as well, in general.
Well, arguably we could do a whole episode on that. But...
We probably could. But in terms of financial impact, so Super Nintendo World opened. That's a thing. And then mobile-wise, there is that Pikmin app coming, and then their existing mobile stuff is kind of continuing. Not their most successful sector, but it's still chugging along.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what they are thinking in terms of additional IP expansion and how that will actually impact them, and how, more importantly, how it'll impact the actual gaming business, because that's the goal.
Yeah, that is definitely the goal. I mean, mobile is a very funny thing with Nintendo, because for years it was like they should go mobile, and now, we can be honest, it's underperformed.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
I think it's done a decent job of IP synergy, but it's not making the kind of money that they were hoping for, right?
Yeah.
Which is worth noting. I think I don't know. I'm curious what's next for mobile. I think the Pikmin app is such a swerve from their strategy so far, right? That I almost wonder at this point, are they just doing things the Pikmin app does not seem like we want to make billions and billions of dollars idea. It is just someone at Nintendo is passionate about walking, or living a healthy lifestyle. And so I wonder if that's going to kind of be the direction for mobile going forward, is not necessarily things that are going to rake in as much money as the Switch is, right? Definitely not.
Certainly.
But maybe it's just things that just are ideas that they people at Nintendo are passionate about, again, living a healthy lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
And stuff that just reminds you this character exists.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd love them to promote these smaller brands. Smaller. Pikmin is definitely smaller than Mario or Zelda or Fire Emblem.
Oh, without a doubt.
Getting that in front of more people's eyes and then being what's Pikmin?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is this idea that, with mobile you can do smaller passion projects that are less expensive, that you can't necessarily do, on the console space, and with that like on that level. It lets people have access to Pikmin characters and IP, which means that if people do interact with the mobile game, then they're interacting with the Pikmin IP, which means they could be interested potentially into seeing other Pikmin software and Pikmin merchandise. That's kind of the idea, I think, is just to have people interacting with that IP.
I could definitely see Pikmin at some point at like a Nintendo World expansion.
Oh, I mean, they're already a little. They're little cameos in the park. You can find little
nice.
Pikmin.
Yeah, they have the little hidden Pikmin throughout the park.
Pikmin are cute. I was talking with a
friend about Pikmin. Do you think? And she made up a really funny point that I can't get out of my head now. Do you think Pikmin cameos, like in the movies, are going to be like like the Stan Lee cameos in the Marvel movies?
I would love that.
That's pretty great, honestly. I think that would be funny.
It's a perfect fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's a really good, yeah. So I think that'd be really funny.
I think that makes sense.
We love Pikmin. They're great. Mm-hmm. Pikmin. I'm glad that Nintendo just will refuse to let this IP die, because it's such a unique and cool IP that there's nothing like it, right? Yeah. And they're just adorable. They're adorable little guys.
They're adorable.
But all right, I think that about covers it for this episode, right?
Yeah. I just want to quickly mention.
Sure.
We know that this hasn't been like, we don't have solid numbers, but we know new Pokemon Snap has started strong out of the gate.
Yes.
And then in terms of stuff that's coming up very soon, the Famicom Detective Club remakes digitally, Miitopia. Game Builder Garage was announced recently. Mario Golf Super Rush, Skyward Sword HD. That's just stuff that's in the next month, basically.
There's a lot
next month and a half, literally,
like million sellers ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't really know too much about the second half of this year outside of Pokemon. So, I think it's just very interesting how stacked that is. Mm-hmm. And the other thing, briefly, I actually wanted to touch on is so Mario Kart Live.
Mm-hmm.
So Mario Kart Live has moved a little bit over 1 million. It's at 1.27 million globally. I think that's the one example that I personally think is underperforming. I think it's really cool, but I feel like that has much more potential, especially as a Mario Kart IP spinoff. Like when you're moving 35 million units of 8 Deluxe, I feel like
a spin-off of Mario Kart only doing.
I still feel like it's pretty niche. Like remote control cars, you need to have that space, and they only includes one. So if you have 2 kids, then you got to buy 2 of them, and then it's $200 at that point.
I mean, it is a higher price point, and it is a niche thing, but I still kind of feel like that has been underperforming even then, right? Like
I'm curious what their internal expectations were, I suppose.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I'm most curious about, honestly, is what they expected.
I guess I don't know how regular RC cars sell. Like that could be like an amazing RC car sale wise, and I wouldn't know.
It's hard to compare it to other stuff just because of that element too. Like, what is considered a success in that sphere? So, I'm curious to see if it how it continues over the next year, if it has legs,
if they add new characters or anything, or
or
if
even
we just see it die like Labo.
Just software sales wise, I'm very curious to see if it has legs. But that was just kind of the one oddity I wanted to mention.
Yeah,
it's definitely a weird one. But all right. That should be it for this week's episode. We want to thank you so much for listening. Muffin, I don't know if you want to give the plugs and all that on how you can find us.
You can find us on I think our YouTube is called the Nintendo Era Discord. We might change that later on. Don't worry. And then you can find the Nintendo Pipeline podcast on any podcast platform of your choice. We got your Apples, we got your Googles, we got your Spotify's, etc. And you can also check us out at the blog at nintendoera.wordpress.com. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Hell yeah.
That's right. Pretty much every Friday there is an update. We have some competitions going on at the moment that will be... one of them will be ended by the time this airs, but the other one is a Pokemon Snap competition. If you want to send photos of happy Pokemon, pretty broad category, you can post them in our Discord server and blog competitions. There's much more information available on the site and elsewhere for that, but you still have another week on that.
If you're not on the Discord, there is a link to it on the website.
Yep. So yeah.
So definitely check those out. Otherwise, we will see you next week when we talk about Game Builder Garage.
Yep.
Brand new announcement. So look forward to that.
Peace.
See ya.
Peace.